Hello, hello, everybody. Let me first do a little bit of a technical check. Hey, I have quite a lot of sound in my presentation, so we need to make sure it works.
Sound check.
Yay. How's the volume?
Sound check.
Everything great? OK, cool. Now we are ready to start, and I want to talk to you about accessibility. Interestingly, today is the Global Accessibility Awareness Day. So it deserves a round of applause. So let's celebrate it together by learning more about accessibility in React. Accessibility is all about ensuring equal access for people with disabilities. And you are likely familiar with accessibility features in the public space, such as curb cuts, ramps, elevators, and sliding doors. They all help to remove barriers for people with disabilities. But similarly to how curbs can create challenges for somebody using a wheelchair, a lot of the features of our digital products can create barriers for people using assistive technology, like a screen reader, voice control, switch device, or Braille keyboard. And in this talk, I will cover some basics of accessibility on the web, and then we'll explore several examples on how we can avoid creating accessibility bottlenecks in React applications. But we've got quite a lot to cover, so let's dive right in. And first, let's start with some foundations. When web pages get rendered, HTML is parsed by the browser and is transformed into a DOM tree, out of which browser builds visual UI that you can see and interact with. However, it doesn't end there. In parallel to this process, it also builds an accessibility tree, containing all important accessibility information about elements on the page, which then gets exposed to assistive technology like a screen reader and is used to navigate the page. But it's a lot easier to understand when looking at the example. For this HTML page, accessibility tree will look something like this. Each element within accessibility tree has its role, which describes what kind of element it is, what is its purpose, and an accessible name, which identifies it on the page. In case of this button, it is inferred from its content. Additionally, it can contain a lot of other attributes to describe it further or communicate its current state. Now, this whole tree is exposed to the assistive technology by the browser via a special API, and will be used to navigate the page. Let's see what that might look like.
Page. Web content. Heading level 1. Hello. Waving hand. Image. Main. Let's learn about accessibility. Start. Button.
As you can hear, Screen Reader announces information straight from the accessibility tree. It uses accessible role and accessible name to describe elements on the page. And while in this example we navigated the page sequentially, Screen Reader users have a lot of shortcuts to navigate page by headings, links, interactive elements, and so on. And this is exactly why using semantic HTML is so important. Semantics convey meaning. While we could have created same-looking page just by using some divs in our markup, it would have made it impossible to navigate and interact with. And there are over 100 different HTML elements that we can use that all come in with built-in semantic roles, states, and other attributes. And by using them, we can get a lot of built-in behaviors for free, but also made our code more meaningful and accessible. However, sometimes for modern UIs, native HTML might not be enough. So in those cases, we can use ARIA. ARIA stands for Accessible Rich Internet Applications. And it is a spec that defines a set of HTML attributes that we can use that give us granular control over accessibility tree. For example, we can override accessible role of the element using role attribute. However, it's important to note that all of the ARIA attributes only provide semantics. They don't modify behavior or appearance in any way. So if we were, let's say, set of role of a button to the div, yes, it will get updated in the accessibility tree and will be communicated to the user as a button, but it won't make an actual focusable, pressable button out of this div. So we would need to implement it ourselves by adding some functionality in CSS and JavaScript. And we can generally treat ARIA as a promise. We are promising to the user that this div is supposed to be a button, and it's important to deliver on this promise. So in most cases, it's easier and more accessible to just use native HTML. It is even noted inside the ARIA spec. Essentially, the spec says, don't use ARIA unless you absolutely have to. However, where ARIA shines is implementing patterns that aren't supported in HTML yet, like tooltips, tabs, combo boxes, and so on. Additionally to roles, what we just discussed, there are also a bunch of other ARIA attributes, all prefixed with ARIA-something, that you can use to set state and other properties for elements in the accessibility tree. In a way, using ARIA is like performing precision surgery on top of the accessibility tree. It gives us as developers a lot of power, but well, with great power often comes great responsibility, and research shows that pages that use ARIA have more accessibility errors than pages without, which just shows that this amount of control, it's easy to mess things up. So generally, when you use ARIA, you need to be careful, use it only where necessary, and be responsible when doing so. Now, here we've talked about assistive technology, how it works on the web, accessibility tree, semantic HTML, ARIA. We are ready to dive into some examples I wanted to cover. And let's start with the first one, which is icon buttons. If we have a button with an icon usually serves purely decorative purpose. However, icon itself would be getting announced, which also is not necessary, but also can sound confusing. To prevent it, we can hide it from the accessibility tree. To do it, we can use ARIA hidden attributes. Everything inside will be excluded from the accessibility tree, therefore won't get announced to the user. But often in modern UIs, to fit more different actions on the screen, we use buttons without any text label at all, with only icon to communicate its purpose. In this case, button wouldn't have any accessible name, so screen reader wouldn't know how to announce it.
Button.
We can set this accessible name by using ARIA label attribute. And this is probably something you've seen a lot. However, it also has some limitations. For example, in most browsers, it won't get translated if translation feature is on. So I would like to show you a better way. We can add a button, a label within the button, as we usually would, and then hide it from the visual UI. This way, we also will be following that first rule of ARIA that we talked about by not using ARIA. However, our usual hiding techniques, like display none, will actually exclude elements from accessibility tree too. So we need something different. There is this visually hidden technique that we can use, which is basically the CSS snippet that shrinks the element and hides it out of the view. In this case, it will still stay within the accessibility tree and can get announced to the user.
Edit post button.
And this is a very common pattern, so I would suggest to extract it into a separate component, like visually hidden here within your design system, which makes it a lot easier to reuse, but also makes the code more readable. Now, by implementing icon buttons, we learned how to hide things. We learned how to hide decorative elements, like icons here, from the accessibility tree using ARIA hidden attributes, and we learned how to hide elements from the visual UI using visually hidden technique. Now, in our next example, let's talk about accessible text inputs. Input needs labels, because imagine filling a form like this. It seems confusing, right? Unfortunately, this is the experience for a lot of people using assistive technology today. So it's important to implement inputs accessibly. There is HTML label element that we can use, and when positioned near the input, it will already visually convey the information. But if we listen to the screen reader,
edit text, blank.
You can see that it doesn't pick it up. To understand why, let's look into the accessibility tree. We can see that this input doesn't have any accessible name, which is exactly what screen reader uses to announce elements. And this is because screen reader doesn't know that this label belongs to this input. To fix it, we need to explicitly connect label element with the input element using foreign ID attributes. Now, contents of the label will be used as an accessible name and therefore can be announced to the user.
Username, edit text.
You can also use implicit binding for the labels by wrapping label around the input. But generally, this method is less supported by different versions of the screen readers. So if you're using this, explicit binding with foreign ID attributes is still preferred. However, in modern UIs, there are still some cases where you might not want to display a label near the input and rely on additional context around the input to communicate its purpose. In those cases, I often see placeholder being used. But placeholders also have quite low support in assistive technology. So we need a better way. While we could use ARIA label here again, a better, more semantic way would be to use visually hidden label instead. We can take our component, visually hidden component from before, and make it more flexible by providing ability to set semantic HTML element that is rendered as known as polymorphism. Now, we can render a visually hidden label with this visually hidden component, which will provide it within the accessibility tree, and therefore can announce to the user. We generally want to keep labels clear and concise, but sometimes we need to provide additional information, like different instructions or hints like this. To implement it, we can just place the text underneath the input, but again, because it is not connected to the input, it might be overlooked by the screen readers. When we talked about accessibility tree, I mentioned that all elements within accessibility tree can have accessible role and name. What I didn't mention is that they can also have an accessible description, which would be empty by default. We can set it using ARIA. We can set an ID for a span containing the description and then connect it to the input using ARIA described by attribute. Then, contents of the span will be used as an accessible description, which is typically announced to the users after a pause, like this.
Username, edit text. Must be between 3 and 20 characters long.
As you've noticed, we often need to use IDs to connect different elements together for accessibility. And because IDs need to be unique, it can create some challenges. So to make it easier, React has a super useful hook called UseID. You can use it to generate unique IDs and then connect different elements together for accessibility purposes so that you don't need to come up with unique names. Now, as we've learned about hints and labels, let's touch on validation. Because the way that we surface errors and validate user input can have tremendous impact on user experience. Let's see how we can implement it. To indicate mistakes, we use red border and display an icon. But similar to how we have this visual cue, we need to provide semantic cue as well. We can use another ARIA attribute here called ARIA invalid, and when set to true, this information will be surfaced in the accessibility tree and communicated to the user. One handy tip in here is that we can actually use all of these ARIA attributes for styling purposes as well. I really like this approach because it is easier, you don't need additional CSS class, but also it is more reliable because it makes sure that your visual cues and your semantic cues are always in sync. Now, as we mark input is invalid, we also need to communicate an error message as well. We can do it the same way that we did with the hints before by using accessible description. ARIA described by can actually accept multiple IDs, and then we'll concatenate those messages together when announcing to the user.
Username, invalid data, edit text. This username is taken.
So now when looking at the inputs, we learned about labeling, using ARIA, UseID hook, and also using ARIA to expose validation errors. Let's now cover our last example, which is notifications, and how to implement them accessibly. Notifications in visual UI kind of come naturally. We kind of just display a message on the screen, and the more important the message is, the more visually prominent it becomes. Because something changes on the screen, you immediately notice it. However, screen reader works sequentially, so it cannot be focused in several places at once. So we need a different way of notifying users of assistive technology. This brings me to ARIA Live regions, which is another really important and powerful feature of ARIA that allows us to define certain places within the page as live. And then they will be watched. And if something changes within that place, then screen reader will get notified and can announce this change to the user without losing its current position. We can set it with ARIA Live attribute, which can be set to polite, meaning that it will wait for current speech before announcing the change, or it can be assertive, meaning that it will interrupt the speech for the announcement. To use it for our notification, we can set it ARIA Live attribute on the message, which will convert our notification into a live region. Alternatively, we can also use role status. This is a role specifically designed for messages like this one, and under the hood, it will set ARIA Live to polite, along with ARIA atomic property, which will make sure that the whole message always gets announced implicitly. And now the user can get notified like this.
Delete button. Item was deleted.
We can use the same approach for communicating errors as well, like here. To use it, we can again set ARIA Live polite to assertive on our error message, or we can use role alert, which was specifically designed for important alerts like this one, which will set ARIA to assertive under the hood. Now our error will be communicated like this.
Sign in button. Sign in failed. Username or password are incorrect.
So when talking about notifications, we learned about live regions and live roles like status and alert that help us notify users about important updates. However, when using these features, it's important to be cautious, because if overused, they can also create a really distracting and frustrating experience for the users. And this is the last example that I wanted to cover. And as the last thing, I want to note that accessibility is not black and white. And by learning more and making small improvements, we can generally move towards a more accessible, inclusive web for everybody. And there's only so much that I can cover in a lightning talk. So you can follow this QR code to get more details about testing accessibility, some tools to dive deeper into these topics. And I hope you got inspired to make accessibility a bigger part of your workflow. And happy Global Accessibility Awareness Day. Thank you.